Hi, my name is Haley Tanberry. I am a regenerative detoxification specialist. We're going to talk about allergies, food sensitivities, and what that is really telling you and your body, and we'll touch on the microbiome today. If you are coming in right now, just make sure to mute yourself. We will open it up at the end for question and answer time. Let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. There we go. What we're going to learn today: why you're getting more and more food sensitivities and possibly seasonal allergies, what that truly means in your body, what your body is trying to communicate to you, and some simple strategies that you can implement right now. The importance, and this all ties into the importance of a strong microbiome and gut lining. So you'll hear me say this a lot. We are trillions of cells, bacteria, and two fluids, blood and lymph. The blood feeds and the lymph cleans every organ, gland, and tissue in the body. But we are actually 10 times more bacteria than we are cells, which is why they are so important, and we should think of ourselves as an ecosystem. Bacteria they're an essential part of our vitality and life force, and we will be diving into that. The lymphatic system is 80% of the fluid in our body. It is in charge of clearing all the digestive and cellular waste out of the body. It cleans every organ, gland, tissue down to the cellular level. So essentially, it's all the metabolic waste and toxins that we come across daily. It will take that and bring it to the kidneys to get eliminated. So it's the sewer system of the body. You can think of it that way. So what you eat, drink, breathe, and put on your skin all goes into the body. The lymph system picks it up eventually, and it takes it to the kidneys to get eliminated. That is an elimination pathway. So let's talk about the importance of bacteria. Every bacteria has a role. They're all important. I don't like to think of it as good bacteria versus bad bacteria. We need a diverse ecosystem within us. So a lot of times in that example, you will hear people say, I need to kill the candida or get rid of the candida, go on a candida-free diet. Well, these microorganisms aren't bad. They're actually doing their job, which is cleaning up extra waste in the body, helping us digest excess protein and starches, and they clean up cells that have degenerated and are now walking down the atypical path. We have bacteria all over the body, and they are essential. Commit that to memory. So in the case of candida, if we have an overgrowth, we have to ask the question, well, what mess are they cleaning up? What job are they serving right now? And let's treat that, because we can do die-off protocols all we want, but guess what? They will never actually go away because we need them. They are part of our ecosystem. One thing I do also want to say is, so bacteria are not to be feared. We, in our culture, a lot of times we fear the bad bacteria, but the reason they become weed-like and overgrow, like in the case of candida, is because they're doing the same thing that the weed is essentially doing in the soil. It's restarting life. So in the example, if you have a strip of land and it has trees and native plants and it's just teeming with life, it's beautiful, but you come in and you clear cut it. Well, what you'll find is all of a sudden weeds will come and grow in that space. And it's because they are there trying to do a job to restart life. And in the same way in our bodies, when we have an overgrowth of these harmful, bad bacteria, it is because we've damaged the metabolic soil within the body. And then we need a few species of bacteria to move back in to rebuild that relationship in the human and bacteria. And in order to get there, we need this interplay. We actually need sickness and fever. And when it's not to be feared, a fever is a critical reset for the immune system to rev up its response indication to bacteria and the rest. But the problem is, in our culture, if you are sick, we have been told to take an antibiotic. And what is an antibiotic? An antibacterial. So essentially, it is clear-cutting our forest. And remember, again, you are 10 times more bacteria than you are cells, and they are essential for us to carry out thousands of different functions within the body. For example, our bacteria are what make our food bioavailable to us. There's many other functions, and we'll touch on some of it. So what happens when you are killing them off? You lose your defense mechanism. One antibiotic use kills 90% of the bacteria in your body. And it also causes leaky gut, which is a huge problem when we're talking about food allergies and sensitivities. You literally lose your body's natural intelligence and strength and cellular identity. Your body will not perform the same way. There we go. So I also do want to add, there is a time and a place for antibiotics and Western medicine. And if you've gotten to the point where you have no choice and you have to go on antibiotics, then that's part of it. Okay. So I'm not saying that all antibiotics are bad. I'm just saying every time we have a headache or a cold or, the flu, we don't need to go on antibiotics or take Tylenol or ibuprofen. It has the same exact effect. It disrupts our microbiome. It causes leaky gut, and it's hard on our liver and kidneys. So when we interfere or doubt our own immune systems, when we have a fever, we've been told to take an ibuprofen, right? But they're actually good. Like I said, they're revving up the immune system and they're burning that excess waste in the lymphatic system. So when you have a cold, when you have the flu, when you do get sick, celebrate it and start taking as many herbs as you can. Load up on your fruits and just celebrate that your body is purging. So that's my rant on that. Okay, so the period after antibiotics is really important. So if you do, like I said, if you happen to get to the point where you have no choice and you have to go on antibiotics, that's okay. But just know that the period after antibiotics is really important. The body will duplicate itself based off of whatever you're putting in your body. Diet is so important, and it needs bacteria, and it will duplicate whatever is available. We should be getting our bacteria from the foods that we are eating. Bacteria are what make our food bioavailable to us. We talked about that. We also need them to produce anti-autoimmune cells or T cells for immunity. 80% of your immune system is dependent on a healthy gut. This is critical. So if we keep clear cutting the forest, right, we're not going to have a strong defense mechanism. And surprisingly enough, we need there should be extra zeros on there, 30,000 to 40,000 different species of bacteria within our guts. We need a rich ecosystem within us and around us. Bacteria is what makes our food bioavailable to us. It also helps us synthesize essential neurotransmitters. 90% of our serotonin, 50% of our dopamine, acetylcholine. There's so many important neurotransmitters that are actually established and created in the gut. And then we have bacteria all over the body. It's not just our gut. We have a microbiome on our skin, in our nasal passageways. It's everywhere. So we have, I do want to go on this tangent for a second. The brain is more like a CPU chip. Okay, it is dependent on a gut, actually, because the enteric nervous system comes and it innervates into the gut lining, and it's basically, it extends into the milieu of the bacteria and the fungus, and it's directly communicating with them. They're intelligent to let them know, like, oh, we need more of this, we need more of that, and it'll produce more of it. But if we don't have the bacteria to carry out those essential cells or processes, then essentially we don't get the right amount of serotonin, the right amount of dopamine. Our brain cannot operate in the same way. Our sense of identity, creativity, focus, all of that is literally our happy hormones, which, like I'm saying, is dependent on a healthy gut. And we are one with Mother Earth. You're only as strong as the food you eat. Like I said, we should be getting the bacteria from our environment, from the foods that we're eating. Less than 1% of our soils right now are deemed nutrient dense. We are seeing the highest disease and infertility rate in history. And then we don't eat organic for what it has in it. We eat it for what it doesn't have in it. It is so important to, when you can, one, grow your own food and follow regenerative practices. Or if there's a local regenerative farm in your community, support them. That is the best way to get high dense nutrition in your body. All right, and then don't be controlled by marketing with probiotics or prebiotics. Like I said, we need 30,000 to 40,000 different species of bacteria within our gut. Probiotics have a very narrow range. They take 3 to 7 different species and copy them at a copy of 7 billion. And some will even boast, oh, we have 24 species. We need 30,000 to 40,000 different species. So probiotics will actually push out and repopulate a copy of 7 billion of 3 to 7 that we don't need that many of. So it actually pushes out all the diversity, and essentially it's monoculturing our guts. The best place we can take in that diversity is going outside, breathe in the outdoors, go barefoot, connect your feet to the ground, literally interact with the world around you, and also from the food that we eat. They should contain the bacteria that we need from the soils that they're grown in. Okay, now this is going to get a little bit more dense. Certain bacteria need fiber. We are primate species. We thrive off of glucose and fructose. That's how we get our energy. Cellular ATP is fructose and glucose attaching to oxygen through cellular respiration in the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is a single-celled organism. It's a bacteria that has inserted itself inside of a eukaryote cell, our cells. And that's how we get energy. Even one thought process, me speaking here, there's like millions of ATP that I've been burning through. We need so many of them. And what happens is when our mitochondria, when the cell function, when the rate of injury is higher than the rate of repair, we get degeneration. And it's common knowledge that everyone's trying to increase their mitochondria to, all of this stuff. When really we can do that so naturally. We don't need external inputs. We just need to go outside and eat healthy foods. Let's go move on. So, like I said, there are certain bacteria that thrive off of fiber and certain diet fads that starve fiber. For example, keto, very little to no fruits, heavy on the nuts, seeds, and meats. Paleo, we have high meat, low carb, and no fruit. Carnivore, we have all meat. I was between these two, without saying that I was, for years. I thought fruit was bad. I feared eating fruit. I had terrible gut injury, and I was still very dependent on following these different diet fads, more or less without saying I was. And it did not serve me any good because it takes more energy to digest meats and complex foods than what you get out of it. And also, if you are starving those bacteria that are essential for our immune system that need fiber, then guess what's going to happen? Now these bacteria are starving and they begin to eat the mucosa in the stomach lining. The mucosa, that mucosa membrane that separates the outside world from the internal world. Okay, our gut lining is actually half a hair strand thick, and you would think that that would be a flaw, but that is actually proof that we should be in connection to our external world. And yeah. So what happens then when they're eating that membrane that is supposed to be protective is we get leaky gut. So then all the toxins go unregulated into the immune system, and this is the start, a reason for leaky gut. So the leak in our gut is a two-part causation. It's eating the wrong foods, starving yourself of fiber. Oral antibiotics, even if you haven't taken antibiotics in a decade, you weren't really put on them as a kid, you are still exposed to them daily. Yeah, and like I said, we are supposed to be taking in bacteria from the soil, from the foods that we eat, and we have a symbiotic relationship with plants. We do. All right, so we have glyphosate. Glyphosate has been patented as an oral antibiotic. We are exposed to it daily through the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and the products that we put on our skin, also the clothes that we wear. Okay, and glyphosate is the major component of Roundup. It is an incredibly toxic chemical that we have abused in our farming industry since 1980 to produce fast farming in the so-called green revolution. 4.5 billion pounds of glyphosate are sprayed annually. It is in 75% of the rainwater samples that have been recorded. It is an oral antibiotic, and it is found in inorganic food and tap water. It destroys the tight junctions of our gut lining. Then you have permeation and toxins that are coming unregulated into the immune and lymphatic system. All right, so that's where we get leaky gut. So these are the Velcro. The gut lining is filled with these tight junctions. They're like Velcro, and they're supposed to block chemicals and toxins and things from leaking straight into the immune system, which is right on the other side of the gut lining. What happens when we are starving certain bacteria is that they say, hey, I'm hungry. And they'll start just eating the mucosa, and that causes leaky gut. Another way is through, like we said, antibiotic use. Also ibuprofen, that sort of thing. So when we have a leak in the gut lining, toxins are now going unregulated into the immune system, into the lymphatic system. So let's talk about leaky gut and allergies. When you have a congested lymphatic system and enclosed elimination pathways, your sewer system gets backed up. So this is what we want. Instead of this is what we want. We want a free-flowing river that is receiving oxygen and nutrients and discarding waste daily. This is the ideal state of the lymphatic system. This is where we get people during detoxification. And we teach them to stay here. But when we have a congested lymphatic system, it is more like a swamp. It is stagnant. It is not receiving oxygen or nutrients, and there is no way to remove the waste. Our cells are essentially bathing in their own acidic waste, and they become isolated from one another. And that is the root of all disease right there. Our cells all communicate. They send a cascade of information out to different centers of the body. And when that communication pathway is disrupted, that's when we get hormonal imbalances, gut dysbiosis, gut injury of all sorts, cancer, I mean, on and on. And when our cells are in this environment, they keep adding to the garbage pile. So you accumulate what you don't eliminate. Okay, so as a result of elimination pathways that are not open, like we just said, we have lymphatic acidosis and cellular waste buildup throughout the body. Now, when we go outside, all of the cotton, pollen, and other airborne irritants are too much for our system, and it produces a reaction to it. And we also see that with certain foods that are also irritants. Our lymphatic system and our immune system in both of these cases say, hey, we're working overtime over here. We can't handle anymore. And then it produces a histamine response. Wheat and corn are one of the more common ones. People come to me and saying that they found that they have a food sensitivity to. But I hear everything, like bell peppers, carrots, I mean, certain vegetables. It's really crazy, because when you take someone through the detoxification process, when you open up the elimination pathways, when you drain the swamp, when you just do the detox, get the body so clean, all of a sudden you're not sensitive to these types of foods. And I just want to throw it out there. I am not saying that we should be able to survive off of pizza and beer. I do think that high amounts of wheat and also corn are not healthy for our bodies, but we do live in a society where we don't want to live in isolation, right? We want to be able to go to a wedding and eat the food and the appetizers and enjoy our time there, right? I do think that we have to be a part of this world as much as we need to make better choices. And I'm not saying like you should be able to Monday through Friday follow a clean diet and do whatever the heck you want on the weekends. I think that's too much. But I think that we should be able to tolerate a certain amount of irritants in the body. And these are irritants. They're hard to digest. That's why your body produces a histamine response. So that's a goal, I would say. So, and remember, diet is everything. So the more acidic forming foods in our diet, the more lymphatic waste we will accumulate. Again, that's just what I was just saying. Okay, like if you're always going to be putting the wrong food combinations, eating heavy foods, not eating detoxifying foods, not giving your body a break. Seriously, the one thing about healing, the one thing the body needs sometimes is to just pause and have you listen. What is it really telling you? And sometimes we don't know because we've gummed up the system so much that we're so full of toxins and it's not communicating. Like I said, that cascade of communication, the symphony of communication that's flowing throughout the body, there's a block and we become numb. So sometimes it takes opening up the body to really realize, oh, that this is what it really wants. However, when I go to that event, that wedding, that whatever, the time you have with friends, going to a potluck or, a dinner at a friend's house, you don't want to have to say no to things because you're worried about a flare-up. Your body should be able to tolerate it if it's clean. Get it out. Go back to your normal way that you find is good for you to eat after that. And I help people get there. I think everybody is a little bit different, but I do find that once you go through a detox journey, you actually crave foods that are more beneficial to your system, to your body, to your tissues. And it happens. The body craves simplicity, but we've overcomplicated it with all this crap and the toxins in our environment. So remember, we accumulate what we don't eliminate. We will always accumulate what we don't eliminate. Are your elimination pathways open? Do you know if they're fully open? One, let's talk about our kidneys. Your kidneys eliminate, right, via the urine, you're eliminating all of the metabolic waste and toxins that you ingest daily, and that is from the lymphatic system, bringing it to the kidneys. So you should be seeing sediment, flakes, and cloudiness in your urine, especially first thing in the morning. And if you're not, then your elimination pathway is not open. Nobody tells you that. Nobody. And then we also have the bowels, the skin, which is our third kidney. So oftentimes if our kidneys are congested, then our toxins are going to come out our skin. We're going to start to see eczema, acne, rashes, boils, fungus, fungal reactions, fungal infections. I had those when I was really sick because I had a huge pathogenic overgrowth in my body. The weeds were coming in and they're saying, hey, we got to help you out here. Like, you need help, you need cleanup, you need to be restored. And it becomes problematic. I still have them. They're still there. They'll be within us always. We need them. We need to have that relationship. But right now I have a more flourishing ecosystem. I've healed. I've done the work. So I no longer have a reaction to gluten. I can go to a wedding. For example, I just did. And I was a little bit worried. Oh no, what's going to happen? Totally fine. Didn't feel anything. But I don't live my life off of pizza and beer either. But I'm now to the point where my body's not going to have a flare up. And that's the part where everybody needs to learn more about their systems and get to that specific point so that we can have our own identity back. These bacteria are here to carry out so many different functions within the body. Like I said, our neurotransmitter production, our brain is nothing without that communication pathway open and clear, without a diverse range of bacteria within us. Our immune system. If we starve certain bacteria that eat fiber from eating what they want, then they will in turn create the leaky gut. And they also are the same ones, by the way, which create T cells and anti-autoimmune cells. This is our immune system. That's very important. So, okay, we've talked about a lot of things today, and I don't have any more slides here. So let me go ahead and stop the share. All right. So we've talked a lot about things here. One, if you're taking probiotics seriously, just throw them away. Okay. It's not doing you any good. What you need to do instead is think about taking soil-derived products. And I work with some products that are top 1% of nutrition grown in regenerative soils under like 10 feet of topsoil. It's not disturbed. They are working with the soil and it's always improving. High caliber nutrition. And I'm happy to share that with anyone. There is a range of different products, and then we can get very specific to your needs. So if you're listening to this and you are curious on just getting, you don't really want to do the detox, that's not something that interests you, you don't really have too many health problems, but you rather would just chip at it slowly, that's totally fine. Book a discovery call with me. Make sure you tell me that. There'll be a questionnaire. Make sure you tell me that. And we can talk about what your goals are and how we can specify and specifically choose with your health needs what is going to work for you within that company that is so amazing to get that high caliber nutrition into your lives. And then also Dr. Zach Bush has Intelligence of Nature. It's liquid and it's adding in that bacteria that is lost in our food systems. Like I said, 1% of the soils left on this planet are deemed nutrient dense. So it's adding in that bacteria that we're not getting from our food. So again, if you are interested in either one of those products, then I can put them in the chat here. But if you're listening to this recording later, book an appointment with me. I'm here to help you. I'm here to get you started on better health because my whole mission and everything is to make us less dependent on the healthcare system, to empower you to understand your own biology and health better. And another thing we can do is get outside more. Eat your food outside. Take off your shoes. Let your feet touch the ground. We have so many receptors in the bottom of our feet. That communication pathway is one of the best ones. Get out in the sunshine. First thing in the morning, get away from the screens. We have the world at our fingertips, and yet we interact with the world very small, very little. So that would be the two things that I would highly suggest. And if you find yourself thinking like, okay, this might be a deeper issue. I'm always bloated after I eat. My food sensitivities, I just keep finding I have more and more. You know, I've been diagnosed with an autoimmune because that's a lot of times you're diagnosed with that and you find out you have food sensitivities, but it's not the food sensitivity's fault, right? It's something in our bodies that need to be cleaned out and rebalanced. Then again, book a discovery call. I can meet you at different levels of health. If you're saying, I need to go deep, we need to do this work together, what does it entail? Let's find out together. Or if you say, I just want you to do an audit of the vitamins in my cabinet and replace them with ones that are going to give me quality. And honestly, I bet you anything you'd be taking less. I can do that too. I'm here to help. So I hope this was informational. I definitely might have rushed through some things, so I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and then we will open it up to question and answer.